Is this the big truth about Aztec crystal skulls? For many people, the story of Aztec crystal skulls begins with the script of the movie Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, 2008. For others, crystal skulls have mystical psychic and healing powers. However, scientists say that no crystal skulls have been found in any archaeological site and that the crystal skulls that have appeared in the world are all fake. And yet, the real story of these fake crystal skulls is full of intrigue and mystery. In the collections of major museums around the world, you can find masterfully carved crystal skulls of all types and sizes. The smallest is a simple amulet, while the largest skull resembles a bowling ball. But still, museum visitors have been captivated by these skulls. In the 1990s, an anthropologist named Jane Walsh of the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History began to develop suspicions about these objects. One day, the U.S. Postal Service delivered an Aztec crystal skull to the Smithsonian Institution from an anonymous donor. The skull came with a note saying that the artifact had previously belonged to a Mexican dictator. But Walsh labeled the skull a fake. And there were several reasons to doubt that it was genuine. It was far too large, the proportions were off, the teeth and circular depressions at the temples didn't match, and it generally looked too rounded and polished. Walsh and Brett Topping wrote in their book, The Man Who Invented Aztec Crystal Skulls, The Adventures of Eugene Boban. Soon, modern scientific analysis also showed that these Aztec crystal skulls were cut with modern rotary tools, and in some cases, the rock came from Brazil, not Mexico. Walsh began by examining the origins of a small crystal skull in the Smithsonian Institution's collection. It had appeared seemingly out of nowhere in the late 1800s as part of a collection that had come to a museum in Mexico. In the 1950s, a book was published by a geologist named William Fashag, an expert on Mesoamerican carved stones. Fashag's investigation revealed that the object was definitely a fake, created with modern jewelry-making tools and techniques. The crystals were discovered to have originated with a man named Eugene Boban. A letter from 1886 claimed that this man had attempted to sell a fake crystal skull to the National Museum of Mexico. Boban's name would eventually surface throughout the investigation. A small crystal skull owned by the British Museum traced the crystal skull's origins to the prestigious Tiffany and Company auction house in New York. Records show that a partner in the company had purchased the skull from Boban in 1897. From the 1860s to the 1890s, it was discovered that all the crystal skulls had their origins in one man, Boban. But who was he? Eugene Boban, a Frenchman born in 1834, was fascinated by Mexico and its history. He traveled there and eventually became an archaeologist working for a member of the French Scientific Commission in Mexico. Boban developed friendships with many of the greatest archaeologists of his time and had a keen interest in collecting artifacts from throughout the region. Through catalogs and exhibitions, he sold artifacts to collectors and museums in the late 19th century. Around the same time, experts began to notice a number of fake Aztec and pre-Columbian artifacts in museum collections. Increasingly, museums began to turn to subject matter experts for help. This is where Boban's role began. As Boban built a reputation as an expert on Mexican antiquities, museum curators trusted him to arrange deals. They could not have realized that he was selling them fakes, because they did not know Aztec society well enough. Boban managed to hide the origins of the crystal skulls by false purchase histories. But who actually made the crystal skulls? In many cases, Walsh suspects that Boban acquired them from Christian churches in Mexico, but this is not known for sure. Centuries ago, Aztec spiritual beliefs and ceremonies placed great significance on the human skull. They carved ornate skulls in stone and depicted their gods wearing human skulls as jewelry. Between 2015 and 2017, archaeologists excavated a monumental Aztec tower at the Templo Primar in Mexico City, which is about 20 meters in diameter and was built from more than 650 human skulls. This shows how obsessed the Aztec culture was with human skulls. But it wasn't just the Aztecs. Going back further in history, the Mayans the Olmecs used skulls in their spiritual practices.